All right, we're going to go ahead and get started now. We had a few more people join, so thank you everybody for joining. Again, my name is David King. I'm with Appulate. We are going to host basically a demonstration today on how to use Appulate. Whether you're a beginner or someone who used Appulate in the past, we're going to go through how to create an account, how to log in, how to find markets, how to do a submission, basically everything you need to know on how to process through Appulate here. Okay. So if you need to reach me or support, these are good email addresses here. We'll address these again at the very end, but for now I'm just going to minimize this. So the first thing we want to do, if we have an Appulate account, we have a couple things that are important to get started with. So I'm going to go ahead and just log out of my account here. So the first place we want to go to is if we are at appulate.com. Let me get rid of this here. So if you're brand new and you've never used Appulate before, you're going to go to appulate.com and you're going to come to this page here. Okay. All you got to do is go to login. You may already have an account and you may not even know. If you got an email from us, then more than likely you already have an account. So what you're going to do is if you don't know your account password, you'll just simply go here, forget password, and put your email address in and try this first. You would be surprised how many times you already have an account. And the reason for this is as we partner with other major carriers, a lot of times if you've ever worked with one of those carriers, they'll just give us your information and we put it into kind of our database. So you may already have an account, but by typing in your email, you'll get a reset password link. And then from there, you can reset your password and get in. If it doesn't come back, then down here is what you would do for signing up. You would simply click sign up, follow these steps here. You put your agency phone number in, things like that, and then you would create your own account in the Appulate system. If you have trouble with that, you can email me or support, and we can try to assist you with your account issues. It's rare, but sometimes maybe there's something else going on that we can address for you. But let's go ahead and say you've got your account all taken care of. So you're going to put your credentials in, and you're going to sign on in. And then the first thing you're going to see is a screen that looks just like this. Okay. If you've ever done any work, it'll show previous accounts here that you may have, previous submissions that you may have worked on through here. But otherwise, if you're brand new, this is what it's going to show here. Okay. The first thing I want you to do is to go up to Tools, and I want you to go to Uplink. Now, what this uplink is going to do is this is going to allow us to bring accord level data into the system. So if you have an agency management system that you use, or you just use Accords, this is going to allow you to bring that data in without having to manually enter it. You can always manually enter it into the system if you want to do so, but this is just going to save you the most time. So all you do here is you just choose your agency management system that you're using. If it's not on here, there's an option for other, I believe, all the way at the bottom. You can choose other, and type in what you have, and then download the uplink driver for Windows. If you're using a Macintosh, same thing, or an Apple, excuse me, Macintosh, wow. Sorry, in Apple, go ahead and hit the download for Apple. It'll recognize which one it is. A couple things that are important. You need Mac OS 10.11 or higher, Windows 7 and later, Windows Server 2008 and later. It's pretty open as far as the requirements, not too difficult. Once you've got that it's downloaded, go ahead and install it. This is going to create a printer driver on your computer. And this is important because, again, this is how we're going to bridge the data in. So I've got an Accord that I'm going to pull up here. So I've got this sample Accord. It's an Accord 130 for workers' comp. And I want to bring this in because I want to do a new quote on it. So once I've installed that printer driver, I now have the ability to choose that printer driver when I bring these in. So what I do is I choose this, I go to print, and then instead of using my local printer, I choose the uplink printer driver. And then I simply hit print here. Now, most of the time, you're just going to leave the standard settings on the printer. Don't try to do like multiple pages and stuff. If possible, just do your whatever your standard printer settings are. So hit print. And then at this point here, I can minimize this. It's going to ask me to sign in. So those same credentials that you just got just a minute ago, you'll need those again to get in here. I hit send, and now what it's doing is it's reading the document, and it's bringing us to right here. If you get a screen other than this one, reach out to support and we'll assist you. If it says anything about OCR or anything like that, let us know and we can assist you through this process. There can be sometimes a little issue with the printer stuff, but it's very rare. most of the time you're going to get to the screen here that's going to say workers' compensation. If you notice, there's a drop-down menu here. This is where you can select other lines of business that you want to use, or if you're doing a commercial package, you could choose package, right? Now, let's say we brought in, let's say 125. It wasn't line specific. Then at that case, it's going to recognize the 125, and it may just guess at what you're trying to use. But then you would just choose whatever line of business you want this quote to be for. We're going to keep it as workers' compensation, though. We're going to hit continue. And now we're brought to kind of the main screen for this insured. Up here in the upper left corner, the first thing we're going to cover is insured's information. So we're going to click into Golden Apple Nursery here. If you see, we've got a profile already built in here. Again, this is all the data that was brought in from that accord you're going to see throughout this whole quote. So the better that accord is filled out, the less information we're going to need from the insured to complete this quote. So now I've got this information here, and if there's an error on here, I can simply just go edit and change whatever I need to change here, okay? Now here I've got my workers' compensation quote that we just started, but if I wanted to add more lines of business, I could simply go over here, hit request quote, and add more lines of business. Or I could also just open up a different accord for that other line of business and bring it in the same way, and it'll do the same thing, whichever way you want to go. So we'll click into workers' compensation here. So now we're back into where we were. Up top here, we see WC. This says what line of business we're working on. This shows our effective date. Mine's a little out of date here. I need to update this. Here we go. So I updated my effective date. Okay. And then from here, we've got a couple tabs that I want to cover. The very first tab here, this is your insured tab. This is basically going to be your data collection on this customer. So for example, we brought in all that information off that accord. So if you see, a lot of this data has already been brought in here. But let's say you're working on like a business auto and you don't have all the vehicles listed or something like that. What you can do from here, we have this really neat feature called Ask Insured. And basically what this does is it allows you to send these questions over to your insured to fill out. Now, we're currently developing the ability to knock out certain questions. So maybe you don't want to ask them certain things. That's hopefully coming in the coming months. But for right now, it does allow you just to do it in sections with the insured, but it doesn't allow you to restrict certain exact questions. We're going to go, and it's going to be a lot more granular here in the coming months when we make that switch. But for now, this is a really neat feature. I encourage you to play around with this, tweak it, because you can really refine this down so you're not wasting your insured's time and just focusing on the questions that are important to you. So once you feel like you got enough information and you want to move forward with your quote, you can simply hit this quote request button here, which is where we started. And then from here, we need to add some markets. So when you're using a standard account, which everybody here has access to, you're going to be limited in your market capacity on who you can submit to. There's two ways to find the markets the easiest way. The first one I recommend is going to the help section here and using our submission matrix. This is in my opinion, one of the best tools we have for finding markets for a specific line of business that you may want to have access to. Now, if you're limited on appointments or you're looking for new markets, I'm going to cover that first. So the first thing, if you're looking for new markets or you don't want to deal with the appointment process just to get a quote, you can look for these open brokerage markets. It's like WeSure, Asia, Genie, Brazos. We've got GM, we've got HSB, Steam Boiler. So if you need any of these, what they mean by open brokerages, you can get a quote from these markets without an appointment. Now, in order to bind, you're of course going to need to complete the appointment process, but because these markets are easy to get appointed with, you're not going to have like minimums like an AmTrust or these large organizations that are harder to get that appointment with. These are very easy to get appointed with. Now, if in addition you do have other appointments, you can access with the type of account that you guys have. You have access to both e-submission and Appulate style quotes. So as you look through this, if any of these markets that you use that aren't in the gold that you're already appointed with, you can also access those in Appulate free of charge as well. But any of these that you see here that are show web link, these do require our premium service. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me or sales@appulate.com, and you can get additional information on how to access these markets. But what's really neat about these is we actually take the data and populate onto the carrier's website for you. So if you find that there's lots of these that you use, maybe premium is a real good fit for you. But okay, so this is a great way to find markets. Another way to find markets is you just simply hit this add markets button. And what this is going to do here is this is going to say, if you notice here, it says open brokerage markets. These are also markets, just like that other page, that write the particular line of business that you're looking at. So if we're doing workers' comp, these markets write workers' comp. So the system is smart enough to know that it does workers' comp. Now, we're working on the logic right now for state specific. So you may select one or two of these, and it may be knocked out as you go through it, saying like it doesn't write this state. We're working on that logic. We had it a few years ago, and then our partners kind of stopped giving us that information. But more recently, we are pushing to get it back. So you'll see in the coming months, again, another update we're working on is only right now it's going to prompt you for all of them, but eventually these will start filtering out by state. So that'll be hopefully soon. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to use one of our testing accounts, AmTrust. This is not an open brokerage market. You would need to have credentials to use AmTrust, but it's really good to be able to demonstrate everything today. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. We'll hit this add market. But again, if this was you and you were looking for new markets, you could just simply click a whole bunch of them and add, as many as you want, because again, these are open markets. You could add all these markets in here and get a quote from all of these without needing to have an appointment. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so for the first style we're going to show you here, you remember earlier I said Appulate style quote, that's identified with this 4-leaf clover. Now there's 2 variants of this style. If you see here, these are standard without the little lightning bolt, and then this one has a lightning bolt. What the lightning bolt indicates is this is called an instant quote. AmTrust has spent considerable time and resources in allowing you to get a quote without referring it to an underwriter. So as we process through this, it's going to give us that quote back immediately. Whereas if I do any of these other ones that don't have that, it's going to send it and then the underwriter is going to get back to us. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the AmTrust one, but I did want to cover that with you guys here. Okay, so we're going to hit start quote here. And then what we see here is I've got AmTrust, and then below here we've got some red icons. If you notice, I got a 2 and I got a 3. I can scroll down and get to those, or I like to just hit this little button here, show required questions only. And now it's giving me the prompt for, again, see the asterisk here, asterisks here. But let's say there's a lot more questions and I want to have my insured help me with this. Again, we've got this great feature here called Ask Insured. And I can send over only these required questions to the insured to fill out. So I'm, again, not wasting a bunch of their time, but I'm sending it over to them to do the work for me. Instead of me calling them up or emailing them waiting for the questions, I can send them directly from the Appulate system through here. It'll create an email, which emails them directly over to them. They click the button, they fill them out, and it saves it right back in the system for you. It's super awesome. I encourage everybody to use Ask Insured. Okay, but let's go ahead and just say we've already got all the answers, and so we can move forward here. So I'm just going to put in a few things. Okay, and now we've satisfied all those questions, and now we can move forward with this quote here. Request quote. Now there's a little bit of time lag between this. Just I think it's AmTrust servers. It's about a 30-second wait here. But what we're doing now is we're basically taking this data via what's called an API, and we're pushing this into into AmTrust servers. And what AmTrust will then do is it's going to crunch those numbers, and it's going to either ask us additional questions based upon what we've answered here, or in this case, I believe it asks us for our XMod next on the next screen here, since we are doing workers' comp. Okay, and here we go. So here we go. Is there an XMod? So I'll just put 1, just do standard, calculate premium. And then we got to wait for next. It's going to ask me for billing. And each of these carriers can be done differently in the system. The ones that are the standard Appulate style, you're just sending it out to the underwriter to review. But with these ones that are the lightning bolt, it may have different transitional screens that you may have to answer additional questions, because remember, it's doing all the work that a normal underwriter would do, and it's just processing it. Oh, thought I'd hit next. There we go. So now it's just choosing me, who's the agent, how am I going to bill it? And again, these are specific to this particular carrier. So if I hit select and I finish this up, it's going to finish it up. It's going to give me a full bindable proposal in the system here in just a minute. A lot of agents have told me that they really prefer these instant quotes because that way you're not waiting on anybody. But so here we go. So we've got a quote here. We could click on it and view it if we want to do so. I'll click on it here. So here we go. Here's the full proposal. And if this was the best one that I like, I simply go over here and there's little dots and I go mark as bound. And I can bind this right in the system. And when I do this, it's going to walk me through. So here's the next page. So, and I go mark as bound and I basically just follow the prompts. Some of these prompts may require you to upload additional information like assigned 125 and loss runs, or it may have just like this one was, it didn't require anything extra. It's going to vary just based on the screen. But I encourage you to always look at these like little dots on the side. They can have different things. So maybe if I want to upload a quote, I want to send an email to this market, I want to review the questionnaire, maybe I want to go to their website. Just a lot of really neat information on the right over here. But once you've bound that policy, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to add a different market in here just to demonstrate what it looks like when we do bind. So market submitted. Oh wait, hold on here. Let's just go ahead and mark it as bound. Okay. So once it's marked as bound, you're then brought to a screen that looks just like this. Okay. So once you've bound it in the system here, now we have the ability to edit a few things over here. So I can choose, who it was with. I can scroll down here. And what's really neat is I can set this up for a renewal. So if I want to create a new renewal request next year, a few months before, if you notice 12.1 here, it'll start creating a new request for me. So next year when I do this, I don't have to do all this data entry like I did at the beginning. I just need to update the record for the new year's information, and I'm off to quoting already. So Appulate gets even better upon renewals. It's a great system already, but it just gets even better. Now, if you get here and you realize, oh shoot, I wasn't ready to bind this, I need to go backwards, no problem. You can just simply go up here to the triple dots, revert request to quote. Simple, really easy. And this just undoes what we just did. Now, some additional things that's important that can be very helpful. Down at the very bottom here, we have what's called our activity log. This log down here is going to allow you to view any major changes you've done onto the account, as well as questionnaire updates. If you sent anything to the insured to fill out, you would see what their answers were. But it also does, date tracking, time tracking, all of these things for you. Let's see here. From here, we've got our loss runner feature that I do want to cover with you guys here today. Now, mine's a little messed up because my cord is super, super old. So this is my error, but I can at least demonstrate this for you here. So the loss runner feature, if it has a red like these right here, this means you need to add the correct market. So all you gotta do is type it in and it does automatic filling for you. So like this is CNA, or let's say this is like, I don't know, Scottsdale. So there you go. So it's really easy to add those in. If the years aren't in, the next screen will prompt us for anything extra we need to add. So I hit start loss runner. And now what this is doing is it's basically going to generate a letter for us, which you'll see here in a moment, to request these loss runs from the carrier instead of having our insured go to the previous agent and request them. So we have two choices up here, typically are chosen, excuse me. There's BOR and there's letter of authorization. If it's a new business, do a letter of authorization. If you're the existing broker, choose the BOR letter. It just changes the wording. The main purpose is the same. So we've got Agora West, who's who's that carrier. We've got their loss run department shown here. Now, if you notice in red, we've got something that requires some attention here. So I can click this, and now it's going to choose me how to connect with that market. I'm going to choose fax. Different ones are going to have fax or email. It's just going to depend. We scroll down here. I would simply just enter the email address in for my client. So I'm just going to put something dummy in here. Just so we can demonstrate this. Now I'm not going to hit send because it'll push it out. for signature, but this is essentially what it's going to look like. I'm going to open it up. So it's going to digitize and create this letter in just about 1 second. Then it's going to add signature boxes automatically for you. It's going to send it to the insured to sign. Once they sign it, it's going to automatically fax it or email it. So in about 30 seconds, you can process a request instead of the 15 to 20 minutes it takes to DocuSign it, figure out where you got to send it to, and all those things. So it's a really neat little tool to save you some time. But do remember, once it's faxed or emailed out, we have no viewability of it. So once it's already been completed and sent out to the request, it doesn't come back to us. It usually either comes back to the insured or your agency. It just depends on your state specifics. All right, that is the basics on how to use Appulate. There is more things you can do. You can go up under Setup here, and you can also go into Settings. Inside the settings is configuring your email server. This is important if you want to send emails out of the system. Just configure that. Let's see here. If you do have, when we were talking about those markets earlier, if on the matrix page, if you have markets, like let's say this, let's say we find you have an appointment with BGA. Let's say you have BGA, right? And you're like, I want to add them as a market into the system. How do I do that? Well, we go over to markets and we have two choices here. We have selected and we have available. Think of available as bookmarks that you commonly use, and selected as all available markets. So, or excuse me, selected as bookmarks, available. Sorry, I got that backwards. My apologies. Okay, so we have over 4,000 markets in the system. But remember, most of these you need to be appointed with in order to access. Appulate system gives you access to send them the data, but they may not be willing to accept the data because you may not be an appointed agent with them. So, but if we want to do that one that we were just talking about, or I'll just do a different one, HIMI. So HIMI. So let's say we want to access that market. So here we go. So I'm under available. Here's HIMI. All I need to do is simply hit this little plus icon over here. And now that is going to show up under my selected list. So HIMI shown right here. And the inverse is true as well. If I want to remove them, I simply hit the minus key. But what this does is, by adding them to your selected markets, it's going to put them, let me pull up my quote here. It's going to add them to, when I hit this add markets button, it'll add them to what's called my markets. These are the ones that maybe you commonly use that you have those appointments with. And then once they're in there, you can also enter your credentials at the very bottom. Click on your name, the very bottom of the page. You can simply enter in your credentials right down here. So all you got to do is, now there's two different choices. You've got use my login and use shared. If you have multiple people in the office and you all use the same login, just choose shared login, and that way everybody just can share the same password. But if you've got individual logins, maybe with producer codes and stuff, you're going to want to use an individual login, which is my login. That is pretty much the basics on how to use the system. I'm going to go ahead and open it up now to any questions that anybody might have. Let me expand out my little window here so I can see if there's any questions. Okay, hold on. Let me get this expanded out. Looks like there's one here. How would payment plans work if most of our agency bill is premium financed? Do we just select agency bill? Stefano, that's going to depend on each market. The AmTrust one that you just saw there, they're prompting you. They're going to ask you directly. If they're not an instant quote, you're going to work directly with that market. And then remember, just if you're getting a quote from these open brokerages, there's no commission talk yet. You're just getting that initial quote to see if the rates are attractive. And if you do, then you can go through appointment process, which you reach out to that market. And let me show you guys how to do that. That's actually another good a good thing I want to cover as well under markets. So when we have selected markets, and if we want to get appointed with one of these markets, let's say we want to do Novate here, for example, right? Let's say we sent a quote out to them. We like their rates. We want to move forward with them. We go to selected, we go to market, and then we go down here to appointment, okay? And then we just follow the steps for appointment right here. They're going to talk to us about what we need. Here's their agreement. We can upload the documents and request appointments right in the Appulate system. Super, super easy to do. Looks like we have another question here. Dennis, ask insured. Do the questions that are marked by a red asterisk appear in the red asterisk ask insured? And then red asterisk questions automatically included in email cannot be removed. Ask insured email. Okay, so we have two areas where there's ask insured. And let me cover that for you guys again here. I'll just go in this way. There's two areas. The first one, this is a general ask insured. So this is not specific to any line of business. This doesn't have any questions for any carriers or MGAs. This is more general questions, right? Let's say you're filling things out and you realize there's a gap in locations, or you're missing a bunch of data. You can send over to the insured to help you fill in that baseline data. And then once we're inside a quote, that carrier, to get more carrier specific questions, like AmTrust, for example, here, when I go into, I'll do this again. Let's just delete this one. Let's do a new one here. So when I go into here, I've already answered these questions as guys saw me do earlier. But remember, we had 2 and 3 over here. When I go ask insured while I'm inside of one of these carriers, it's going to ask only these questions that are relevant to this particular carrier, not the generalized questions that were here earlier. So it's a much more refined questionnaire when we're doing this than the original one. Dennis, if that doesn't answer your question, email me and let's connect, because I want to make sure I get to you. But these are kind of a little more directed than I think I can answer one-sided. So we can even do a phone call if we need to go into that. Dennis, email me at dking@appulate.com, and we can get into this a lot deeper for you. Let's see here. Do we have any additional other questions here? We've only got 2 so far. Oh, hold on here. Maybe I got another one. Nope. Still just 2 questions. All right. Oh, here we go. Aline, I have lots. May I email you? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and email me directly. Like I said, if you feel the question's too complex, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to get you the information back over. Today's main focus is just to show you guys how to start using Appulate and give you the basics enough to formulate a quote. Now, if you're struggling and you're more of the kind of person you're like, I like to figure things out on my own, we've got some really good e-learning resources here as well. Our help center, maybe let's say you use like AMS 360 and you want to see what you need to do to use the uplink feature that we started with. Well, here you go. Here's 360. It's going to show you exactly how to use it step by step. Pretty neat here. And again, this is the help center. So this is located right here with the help center. Allows you to search for things. Quick start guide is going to go over pretty much everything I went over, maybe a little shorter even. And then the last one I want to cover is our e-learning. This is a fantastic resource as well. It may cover things that are not available to you because the e-learning technically says it's for our premium service. However, you as a free customer still have access to access this. So you can go into the Producer Connect Premium. You can do this whole training. Like I said, some of them may not be relevant to you, but you can get all the things I just taught you today. You can go through this as well right through here. All right, any additional questions from anyone? All right, well, if we don't have any additional questions, I won't keep any of you any longer. I will go ahead and wrap it up right here. I appreciate everyone's time today. And again, if you need to reach out to me or support, I am more of a resource for like training on the system. Our support team is going to be more of those really intricate technical questions. If you have questions like APIs or like, how why does the system do this or that, our support team is going to be the best case to go there. But if you're just looking for basic usage on the system, I'm going to be definitely the best person to go to on that. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day. And anybody that did attend today, by tomorrow, I'll send a copy of today's webinar to you so that you can have that for review as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.